is maybe one of the greatest Bucks to play. He's a Bucks legend. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Honestly, he's a better broadcaster, and that maybe says a lot about the kind of work he does for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's Marques Johnson joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Really appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. The pleasure's all mine, especially with everything that's going on in the world. I appreciate you carving out a little time for the original MJ. You know, I'm the MJ that Michael Jordan had on his wall at North Carolina. Had my poster. What goes up, what goes in, right behind me. That's a rendition that my son Mariah painted for me. But Johnson's Law, that poster was on Michael Jordan's wall when he was at North Carolina. He always talks about how I was one of his favorite players coming up. So to me, that's Hall of Fame worthy, isn't it?
I
you got
would
Michael
think
Jordan.
So.
You got the greatest of all time saying that that you were his inspiration. I don't know.
I do want to talk a little bit of basketball with you on the back end, but I do want to talk about a special honor you just got from a very special organization here in Milwaukee, Serenity Inns. They're a rehab facility for men with substance abuse issues, and you have thrown your support, financial, time, everything behind this organization here in Milwaukee that has helped now more than 700 men. And recently, they have just named their exercise room the Marques Johnson Wellness Room. Got some pictures here of the ribbon cutting that just happened, but of one of their facilities. But congratulations on the new honor.
Look, man, I appreciate it, and it is indeed an honor. Ken Genlack, the gentleman in that photo in the purple, two places to my right, approached me 2 or 3 years ago about getting involved in Serenity Inn. He explained exactly what kind of work they were doing in Milwaukee, the recovery centers, the holistic approach to recovery, the desire to get men in Milwaukee who suffer from substance use disorder. Now, we used to call it substance abuse back in the day, but the terminology now has changed. It's substance use disorder, so I got to get used to saying that. But the idea is the same: is to help these young men who are struggling with various substances in their life get back on their feet. A holistic approach. It's just teaching them to be have financial literacy. It's teaching them how to fill out resumes and applications. It's teaching them all kinds of things. The workout center, just keeping their body, keeping their mind right. It's just a full throttle approach that has been successful. As you mentioned, over 700 men have gone through the program, have gotten on with their lives in a productive and positive way. And I'm just fortunate, honored, and grateful to be a part of the whole thing.
Marques, you're very open about your own struggles with your own issues. And I don't think even as much, you're so willing to talk about it, but not everybody knows the backstory of your own struggles and what you have overcome more than 2 decades now that you have been sober. But that journey, I don't think everybody knows it. For you, when did you realize you were having an issue?
Well, it started back in the 80s in Milwaukee. There was a cocaine explosion. I don't know how many people are familiar with the series Snowfall on TV, but I lived Snowfall just in terms of the cocaine influx into this country. And there was a lot of guys in athletics, outside of athletics, that got caught up. And it turned out to be something initially that was on the cover of Time magazine, cocaine. It was a martini glass, I remember. And they were talking about how it was a new wonder drug, and it was exhilarating, and it helped all kinds of things, more energy and better for this and better for that. And no one knew at that time just how addictive that substance was. And so I used it like everyone else recreationally to start out with. But then, as we say in recovery, you cross that invisible line. Now all of a sudden, you're not doing it because you want so much as you're doing it because you almost have to do it. And then also in terms of controlling the amounts and all that, the intake and all that, once you start, it's just hard to stop. And so that's when I realized that, I did have that addictive gene, and that there was something that needed to be done about it. And so I've been in and out of programs back in 1982 with the Bucks. Don Nelson and the team had heard that I was involved in drugs in Milwaukee. And so I did go through a program in 82, got back out, relapsed, and it was, in and out of use and non-use for a number of years. And then, as you mentioned, 23 years ago, as we say, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was one of those functional people that was addicted to drugs and alcohol, where I was able to do a lot of good, positive things in television and basketball, the post career, during my career. But it just got to a point, man, where I knew that my luck was going to run out at some point, and I just needed to change the course of my life. And that happened for me in 2002, and it was the best decision that I'd ever made. And by the grace of God, I've been sober ever since. And my life has continued to get better and better. I wound up getting this job with the Milwaukee Bucks about 11 years ago. That was a true godsend. I was able to work with organizations in the city of Milwaukee, like the Running Rebels with Victor and Don Barnett, that Kevon Looney went through, that does a great job with their programs. Crystal McLean has a great program for young ladies who are trying to get their lives together, called Revive Youth. And now Serenity Inn with Ken Genlack. Ken Genlack came to me 3 years ago. And the funny part about it is that, the ironic part about it, let me put it that way, is that I had been going to a recovery meeting on the east side on Prospect for years. And so I knew a lot of these guys who were at Serenity Inn. I heard a lot of good, positive things that they had shared about Serenity Inn. I'd become a mentor for a lot of these guys already. And so then when Ken approached me about being officially a part of the board and doing whatever I could do to help raise awareness and raise resources, I was more than willing to do it.
Yeah. And for you, when you said you were kind of a functional substance abuse user, does that almost make it more difficult to get help?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if there was a point in your life where you realized you'd hit rock bottom, or it was just you didn't like where your life was going.
Well, God doing for me what I can't do for myself. So in 2002, for first of all, Christmas of 2001, this is right after 9/11, and the world was all over the place at that time. But 2001 Christmas, I didn't spend it with my family for the first time ever, and I was just off on my own, doing what I do, and uh, coming up with all these excuses about Christmas being commercial, and Christmas, all these negative connotations behind Christmas and the spirit of Christmas, and how it's a bunch of bullcrap. And so I didn't spend it with my family. And unbeknownst to me, my family did not hold it against me. My mother was real loving and just told me that she knew something was going on. The point is that January, my father died. That February, my then girlfriend, future wife's mother died. That January, my sister died. That February, my future mother-in-law died. That March, my father died. And I wound up getting sober in April. So it was like just a bang, bang, bang of just traumatic events that happened, and I wasn't in a good place. And that was the time when I felt like I needed to really take a good look at what I was doing. And so I wound up getting sober in April. And then as destiny would have it, my grandmother, who's I'm really close to, she wound up dying in May. So it was a lot of things going on right around that period of my life. And that was the bottom for me. Even though I was a functional alcoholic, I was doing things, being productive as an addict alcoholic, making a good living in broadcasting, doing movies, doing TV, doing a whole lot of good stuff. I knew that, once I started to partake in some substance use, that the disorder would kick in, and who knows what would happen. So yeah, I was fortunate. The grace of God, I like to say, was shined upon my life, and I was able to come in and get the help that I needed, and have been sober ever since.
What's so powerful about what Serenity Inns does too, it's getting people to stick with the program.
Yeah.
You've been more than 20 years now. What has it been for you that's been able for you to stay sober?
Well, it's the discipline of, we say that we get sober with our feet. And so it's going to meetings. It's working the program, the process that's outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That means we've got the steps. We've got a whole process, a blueprint for living, a design for living, as we call it. But it entails a lot of things, a lot of searching inward, a lot of outward, making amends to people, making reparations where possible. It's a lot of good stuff like that. And what that does, as you go through that process, it keeps you in a conscious contact with a spiritual aspect of your life that you rely on to get sober. And for most people, I mean, Oscar Wilde, great writer, once said that show me an alcoholic and I'll show you a man looking for God. And a lot of times alcohol and drugs are a substitute, trying to fill that spiritual void that a lot of us are walking around in. Now, I grew up in the church, preachers all through my family, grandfather, uncles, cousins, everybody. I can name 40 right off the top of my head who are preachers, but I just never had that personal contact with this spiritual aspect of my life. And I like to say that God led me to AA, and then AA led me back to God, and that's what happened in my life.
It's incredible because everyone walks a different path. And I mean, as you are so open about talking about this, as you have been, so many people I think have walked up to you, but no story really is the same, right?
Right. Well, no story's the same, but there's so this program, the Alcoholics Anonymous program, just celebrated, I think, 90 years or more. I forget what the exact number is, but it was all about one alcoholic, Bill Wilson, sharing with another alcoholic, Dr. Bob. That was the first time that he had shared what he was going through. He talked to another guy who was struggling, and there was power in that. And there's a spiritual principle where two or three are gathered together in my name, then there's power there. And so there's power in, and that was the thing that helped me, man. It was hearing other people who were worse off than I was, just as bad off as I was, not as bad off as I was, but who had given themselves over to this new way of life, to this process. And then all of a sudden they had strung together 5 years and 10 years and 20 years for productive members of society. And these guys who were, crack addicts sleeping under bridges and all these things that I'd never had to experience in terms of being destitute. And so in my mind, it was like, well, if these guys can do it, maybe there's a chance for me because I'm nowhere near as bad off as that. And so I just immersed myself into the process, man. I, went to meetings, 2, 3, 4 times a day over the first few months, and just so enamored with the prospect of getting sober and staying sober that got me started. And since then, I've been an active participant. And so when I get a chance to reach out and do things with Serenity Inn and programs like this, I'm not doing it. I'm doing it to help others. It's an altruistic meaning behind it, but I'm also aware that it's going to help me also because it keeps me out of my head, keeps me out of myself, makes me feel good about myself, helps my self-esteem, and that's a big part of the process in terms of sobriety.
What I thought was interesting, I read a little bit of times you've talked about this. There were people who've come to try and help you, and I think when someone you knew came and said, you got to leave LA. And for you, what I think is interesting, you said, I can't leave LA. That's not what I'm not going to leave. That's not going to sober me up and change me. And really, I think a lot of people, they can't just leave the situation that they're in, and there's some power into changing your life, but staying where you are when you know that's not going to help you at times.
Well, and again, it's another recovery saying in terms of making a geographic attempt to get sober is that wherever I go, I take me with me.
Right.
So wherever I go, so toward the end of my career, I went over and played in Italy. I thought there was a great chance for me to take a break from the United States, from Los Angeles, get to Italy, and try and clean up my act, so to speak. So I get over to Italy, and one of my teammates with the Italian league team I played for, Udine Fantoni, a guy by the name of Lorenzo Bettarini, he had a farm where he grew this strawberry wine, and the strawberry wine, man, was like 33% alcohol. And now all of a sudden I found myself drinking, 4 and 5 bottles a night. A case would last me maybe a week. And I go back to him, man, I need another case. But so the point is that I went over to Italy thinking I'm going to be having a chance to isolate, get myself together. And there's alcohol in Italy. There's no getting away from it. So until I looked at myself and decided that it was an inside job that needed to be dealt with first, there was no chance for any long-term sobriety. There were a few moments, brief periods where I would get sober, go to church, and get a spiritual experience in church. But those were not long-lasting because I didn't do the aftercare that was needed to continue to look within myself and continue to try to be the best version of myself.
And Serenity Inns now, I mean, they're helping so many people. Can you talk about their facilities? I think we've got a picture here of you. I think this is inside their workout facility there, but this is new. They've kind of been growing and being able to help more people there.
Well, and that's the thing. We want to make it a place where you're not there with a negative mindset. You're there with a positive mindset. Great workout room to make sure that you stay on top of the physical, and that's that holistic nature of in terms of the approach to recovery that Serenity Inns takes. And so it's all about the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the psychic, everything. Financial literacy, as I talked about before. Every aspect of a man's life, because once you are addicted or once you have substance use disorder, there's that nice plaque. There was a gentleman, one of the board members was the anonymous donor. I still don't know who it was, but he plunked down a whole bunch of money.
$30,000.
$30,000 to get that fitness room named after me. And so it's just such an honor for someone to show that kind of gesture of love and of caring. But again, it's all about having a first class place for these young men to work on themselves, to get sober, and hopefully through the work they put in, through the grace of God, stay sober. So it's a great facility. It's a great opportunity for those that are willing to support this cause. Look, substance use disorder really kind of came to the forefront with the opioid crisis in the Midwest, some of the outlying areas that didn't know anything about the crack epidemic that we dealt with in the inner cities. Now there's the opioid epidemic that has touched so many lives. So, in terms of drugs and alcohol and addiction, I mean, it's a scourge. It's a scourge on society that knows no gender, no race, no economics, no social class, knows nothing, and it's out to kill us. Is what it's out to
Yeah.
do. It's out to kill us and convince us in our minds that life is unmanageable, that life is unlivable, and the only thing that can cure that is to escape reality as far away as possible into oblivion. So it's a treacherous disease, man, that has touched the lives of so many people.
Well, congratulations. The Marques Johnson Wellness Center, now named after you, after you've shared your journey and helped so many men who are really following kind of in the same footsteps.
Yeah, man. It's such an honor, and I'm so grateful that God has placed me in this position. God knew what He was doing because I didn't want to come back to Milwaukee. When I got offered this Bucks job, I'm like, man, I hadn't been back in 30 years. I'm doing radio in Los Angeles, doing okay in LA, and then just things worked out so well. Peter Fagan and the crew have taken such good care of me with the Bucks. And then all of a sudden, I'm able to reach out and do so many things for so many in the community. When I played for the Bucks, man, I didn't do a whole lot in terms of positive outreach. I did a few camps here and there, but I wasn't about pouring myself back into the community. Now I get a chance to come back after all these years and take a totally different approach, man. And it's just a blessing to be able to do so.
Well, we are so fortunate that you have come back and to be able to hear you and the stories that you share, and really what you add to the broadcast is it's next level, I got to say. Can we talk a little basketball while I've got you? Because there's been a lot of news in the NBA, and I'm seeing all these stars, whether it's Kevin Durant or Drew Holiday, who a lot of people are like, why did we trade him? Suddenly he's gone from Boston, and Porzingis has gone from Boston. A lot of people are wondering, what are the Bucks doing? A whole lot of nothing so far. What's your take been on, now that the offseason has just started, what the Bucks have not done and what they need to do?
Well, and then that former Rufus King, great Jordan Poole, I think he's moved on to New Orleans. So it's a lot of movement. John Horst, I just believe in this management team that we have with Milwaukee, and we're a bit hamstrung just in terms of our financial flexibility. That's where the Chris Middleton, Kyle Kuzma trade did help us, and so it's going to be up to management to find these gems for low cost, like Gary Trent Jr., who came in and played spectacularly last year, or Kevin Porter Jr., who we got, for a little bit more than a minimum, who came in and played tremendous basketball. So there's guys like that available. I suspect after the draft, the next week or two, when things kind of settle down, that you'll see more movement from the Bucks in. But there's going to be moves to be made, and they'll be on the margins. We don't have I don't think the financial flexibility to make a major move at this point. Who knows? You could package together some guys. That's up to John Horst to decide. But trust me, you want to keep Giannis around. You want to keep Giannis inspired, motivated. You want to keep Giannis feeling like you're doing everything within your power to help him get that shot at a second championship. And that's where our energies lay now. So I have all the confidence in the world that Bucks management will make that happen.
I feel like the NBA is in such an interesting spot right now. When you were playing basketball, the superstars were always in the finals, or they were going head-to-head in the playoffs. What we just saw between Indiana and Oklahoma, a lot of guys who weren't household names playing in the most important game. That never happened in your era. I mean, all the guys who were the big names found a way to be there deep into the playoffs. Now, I just think, is it depth?
Yeah, well, you got a guy like Sam Presti in Oklahoma City who's done a tremendous job of piecing that team together. I think 2 or 3 years ago they won 24 games, but they stuck with the young players. They watched them develop. They got a tremendous leader in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who knew that Jalen Williams was going to develop into the kind of player he became, to score 40 points in the finals and do some of the things that he has done. He kind of caught people by surprise, and that's the key. Get these guys who other people have passed on, other people maybe don't recognize their potential. Quick story about Sam Presti. When he was trying to decide between Russell Westbrook, Jared Bayless, and another player. He called me up and he asked me which was a better player at that point, and I told him these other two guys were better. He's like, "Who's going to be better in 5 years?" And I told him, "Well, Russell Westbrook is going to be better than Jared Bayless, or OJ Mayo was the third player in that group." And so you've got to have that ability to kind of project. I won't say predict, but project it to the future and see a diamond in the rough. We've got one in Orion Rollins, for example, I'm big on. And I think in 3 or 4 years, he could be a really, really, really great player in this league. So it's all about developing what you have, understanding and recognize the potential of guys out there who are available right now, but will be very desirable in 3 or 4 years from now.
Honestly, it gives me hope as a Bucks fan that, we don't have obviously we're going to lose Damian Lillard to his injury, sadly. Yeah. But who knows who could step up and be that guy to get the Bucks deep next year, because that's what's happening on other teams.
Yeah, no, and again, it's all about watching these young players kind of grow and flourish. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Bobby Portises and the Brook Lopez, their contract situations. But, we're still, if everybody comes back intact from last year, even without Dame Lillard, throw in a couple of pieces on the margins to kind of help out. This is still a very competitive basketball team. Anytime you got one of the top 2 or 3 best players in the world in Giannis Antetokounmpo holding things down with his ability to put up 30 points and 12 rebounds and 6 assists and dominate the game at the defensive end of the floor, you got a chance. You got a puncher's chance to make some noise. And then you factor in no Tyrese Halliburton with the Patriots, no Jason Tatum, these Achilles injuries, Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is gone from Boston. So it's interesting that this Eastern Conference is in major flux right now.
So true.
Knicks are changing coaches. So I think, I won't say wide open, but it's a lot more open than I think we thought it was going to be about a month ago.
Yeah, and they've got the best analyst on the sidelines. So that's got to help, right? Marques Johnson from Milwaukee Bucks Legend. Appreciate you spending some time with us here on the Wisconsin Line.
Always a pleasure. Anytime, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.